Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. I'm Chase Yance. Alongside me, Brady King. What's up, Brady?
Not too much. Just another good weekend of football. I mean, come on now. That was a great weekend, even though the upsets didn't really end up happening that looked like they may. Still a good weekend. Ohio State was able to come back and win their game, and Oklahoma was upset. Some good things happened, and Michigan didn't cover the spread for the first time in the Big Ten in like 2 years. I really wonder what changed. What
Isn't that
happened
wild?
since did they not have a coach that they once had or something telling them every one of the defensive plays and offensive plays?
What a
Not sure
coincidence!
what a coincidence!
Wow. Yeah, that's really surprising. We'll talk about
Shocking.
that. Yeah, shocking to say the least. We'll talk Michigan Penn State, which is an even better opponent on the road they have to face without their coach with every single note, sign, whatever. But we'll have more slander, but legit slander coming up. Matt, what's going on with you?
What's up, fellas? Buckeyes covered, Purdue covered. I mean, fuck me. Let's go, baby.
We're not doing that.
No.
Oh man, good week for us fans here in Ohio. A lot of winning football going on. If you're watching this video, like us, subscribe to us on YouTube, all the other stuff. Drop some audio here soon. Saturday. Matt, you had work for a little bit, but what time did you get over to Brady's house?
I watched most of the second half.
Yeah, he got there early this time.
How'd you manage that?
Oh, I turned and burned.
Got that right.
Hey, make sure to turn and burn on Saturday this week too.
I'm gonna try. Yeah,
got that right. Turn and
I will
burn,
be
baby.
in the student section Saturday night, 7:30 kick in the Horseshoe. I'm gonna be fucking hammered. It's gonna be great.
Brady, please keep an eye on Matt while that goes on. Please.
Yeah, I'll make sure he doesn't get kicked out or anything.
Put a leash on him, but Matt, have fun. Is all I gotta say. You guys are watching the Rutgers game. I was actually on the call for that UCF Cincinnati game. Two terrible teams playing each other. But it was a really good ball game, to say the least. 28-26. Yeah, but it was a good game. Like, what I'm saying? Like,
a good ball game against the shitbags of the Big 12.
Matt, say one more thing real quick, all right? I was gonna mute you. Actually, I did mute you. Never mind. All right, I'm gonna unmute Matt. So I was calling the game and everything. It was a good game, but glad the Buckeyes got the win, so didn't have to worry about anything else before I hopped on the call. Speaking of those Buckeyes, 35-16 was the final score from Piscataway, New Jersey. Kyle McCord, 19 for 26, 189, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Travion Henderson, when he's healthy, I mean, he's tough to stop. 22 for 128 on the ground and a touchdown. Also out of the backfield, 5 catches for 80 yards. Had over 200 total yards. I think this is back-to-back weeks he's had over 200 total yards. Brady and Matt saw it in person up in Madison. They go over to Piscataway, do their thing. Now Ohio State comes back home for 2 straight home games. Sorry, they got off road games. Now they're at home for 2 straight games before November the 25th. Big one.
Indeed.
Going to be a big one. But it was a very close game in this one for the first half. Rutgers is up 9-7 at halftime. A bunch of field goals. We just couldn't finish drives. They couldn't finish drives. I just got some points up on the board. But the game-changing play, the Jordan Hancock 93-yard pick 6, when stuff was looking rough, we made a play on defense, and that's been the entire thing this season. What was something that you were really happy about from this game against a pretty good Rutgers team, to say the least? Brady.
I would say the thing I was really happy about was Travion Henderson, just in general. I mean, he comes back, finally looking, this year, all year he's looked very explosive. But now that he's healthy, last year he wasn't healthy. But every time we've seen Trey healthy, he has been arguably the best running back in college football. I feel like people kind of, even other fan bases, had a higher view of Trey than even our own fan base at times, because we would get mad about him being out or things of that, him not, staying healthy. But seeing him get heavy workloads 2 weeks in a row and going for over 200 total yards both weeks. I mean, Blake Corum at Michigan has had one 100-yard game this year. And then we look at what Trey leads the Big Ten. Trey led the Big Ten in October in explosive run plays. He played one game in October. It's just crazy how different this offense is when he's on the field. He's just a game changer. The explosion is ridiculous. His acceleration is nuts and change of direction. Great to see. Great weapon in the pass game. Just overall, I think in 2021 we would have said that Trey was our best 2021 recruit, like our best freshman. Now maybe Marvin is past that, but we thought multiple guys had passed that. I think Trey's our second best player pretty easily.
Yep, that was a lot of good stuff from TreVeyon Henderson. Matt, Ohio State only had the ball for 24 minutes on Saturday and scored 35 points. The run game, obviously 139 yards on the ground as a team, 189 through the air, converted 6 of 12 on third down. What impressed you, especially, getting some production from other guys at tight end with Cade Stover not being available, G. Scott Jr. having a touchdown catch. What stood out to you on Saturday, Matt?
What stood out to me is definitely the ways we're getting Trey the ball. I talked about it last week in the preview show for last week's football games. I was interested to see the ways we got Trey the ball. We had some toss sweeps, and then we were throwing it underneath to him as well, which is obviously great if you can get him in space at all. I mean, he's very dynamic. He's just got to stay healthy. These next 2 weeks are going to be paramount for the whole entire team, but especially for guys like Trey. I mean, we already know he could be. I mean, I'm not going to call him a pussy, but he's very injury prone. So, we cannot get fucking hurt. He cannot get hurt. Okay. He can't do it. But I think the thing that stood out to me the most was the red zone defense. Again, I think it's the best. I will say this. I will say it's the best red zone defense because there's some defenses that haven't given up any snaps inside the 10 or 10-yard line. So I think it's the best red zone defense in America in terms of not letting them score touchdowns. Our offense and our special teams gave Rutgers the ball on their side, our side of the 50 twice in the first half, and they only got 9 points out of it. That's how you win games right there. And I thought our red zone offense this week was actually really good as well. Both drives right there, both red zone offense and red zone defense was probably the thing that stood out to me the most. We were able to punch it in the red zone, especially in that second half. With Trey running the ball, we were able to run the ball a little bit, and then forcing field goals in the red zone. That's how you're going to win big games. Scoring touchdowns, forcing field goals. Because good teams are going to drive the ball. Good teams, you know what I mean? They're going to move the ball against your defense at times. You've got to be able to stop them in the red zone and force 3, and you've got to be able to turn your opportunities into 7. That's how I think you win a lot of big games in football. So that ball.
Yeah. That's a big thing. Obviously, just, trying to win the possession you have and, trying to set things up going forward. Big thing for Ohio State. Looking forward, though, they have a game against Michigan State Saturday night. We'll talk about that in the preview in tomorrow's episode. They got that. Minnesota, Michigan is, a couple weeks from now, only about 2.5 weeks. How confident are we in Kyle McCord going up against the Michigan defense at this moment, 2.5 weeks away from what we've seen so far? Like, do you think Kyle McCord is going to get better, or do you think Kyle McCord is going to get worse? Is all I got to say. And where does he
get better? I think he needs to score 24 points against Michigan. That's it. All
right. What you got, Brady?
Yeah, I mean, to this point, I would say he hasn't really gotten better, so he can't really get worse. I would agree 24 would be nice. I would like to score more than 24. I know what Matt means by that is because he thinks our defense can hold them under 24, but I just feel like he needs to take this offense to another level because when you look at the offensive talent we have, you look around him, okay? You look at wide receiver. You got 2 first-round receivers. You look at tight end. You've got a top 3 tight end in the country. You look at running back. You have the best running back in America when healthy. He's got to be able to play better and make more explosive plays. He needs to throw the ball downfield. He hasn't been doing that. It's been crazy the amount of – he needs to throw the ball downfield in the middle of the field. That's what we need to do. That's what Kyle needs to do. It's just the main key to success, I think, throwing the ball down the middle of the field, not down the hashes, not to the boundary, middle of the field to whoever is what we need to do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Ohio State plays this card going forward in these next couple of games, see if they can try to test some things out, just seeing how they build up, obviously not overlooking the opponents, but build their way up, for the big game against Michigan the Saturday after Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving weekend. Looking at other games around college football, Texas survived against Kansas State. That was big new kickoff. They won 33-30. That was in overtime. Looking at Malik Murphy, 19 for 37, 248, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. They need Quinn Ewers back pretty soon, to say the least. A.D. Mitchell had a big game. He had this is crazy. He actually had 149 of Murphy's 248 passing yards. Murphy only had 99 yards on the other end, completing 11 for 99 to other receivers. Mitchell, 8 catches, 149 yards, a touchdown. Texas is at the top of this race for the Big 12 and trying to make it to the college football playoff with one loss at the moment. Kansas State put up a pretty good fight in this one, but Texas ultimately comes away with it. Ole Miss, number 10 in the country, they survive against Texas A&M. A&M made a late surge in the fourth quarter, but Ole Miss wins at 38-35. Jackson Dart, 387 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Completed pretty good amount of his passes. Quinshon Judkins, 23 for 102, 3 touchdowns. Very, very good running back. I think Brady was talking about it's probably the best running back in the country preseason, but we'll talk all preseason stuff later on. Notre Dame loses to Clemson, 31-23. We won't spend much time on that. Then we're looking around Georgia. Here's the big one. Georgia beats Missouri 30-21. Game was deadlocked at 10 at halftime. Georgia has a couple of touchdowns after a Missouri field goal. What's your thoughts on how Georgia's look without Brock Bowers, Matt?
They've looked really well. I mean, they play really well. They got some fast. Muse is a really good receiver, short, little fast guy. Obviously, Lab McConkey, running backs from McClellan's good. Carson Beck's been playing really well. I wish Carson Beck was our fucking quarterback sometimes. So, I think Georgia's going to be fine on offense. But it wouldn't shock me if Ole Miss gets them. I really believe it.
Yep, we'll preview that game as well and the preview on Tuesday night. Brady, how about you? What do you think about this Georgia team right now?
I think they've honestly played a little bit better when Brock's out. I'm not saying they're a better team when Brock's out. They've just, raised their play. Now, I don't think they looked great against Missouri. I thought there was holes. I thought their defense was vulnerable a lot of the time. I know they only gave up 21, but, I know a defense that hasn't given up 21 all year. And a couple of them, actually. But anyways, I feel like they're not as good as the past 2 Georgia teams, but they're more of a I would say they're more of a level of maybe like a 2019, 2020 Georgia. But the good news is there's not one team in America that's like overly dominant than the rest. Yeah. So that could still be enough for them. Now, Michigan fans would like you to believe that they're that one team. And in my opinion, evidence against Nebraska and Minnesota does not qualify to show that. So I still think Georgia's in the position they need to be in.
Yep. They just keep coasting and go undefeated and they'll be fine. So it's going to be big for them. Again, the big game against Ole Miss. This week, right? Coming up
Saturday.
There you go. So that's going to be a big one. Florida State not survived, but it was a weird game to say the least. They beat Pitt 24-7. Pitt's 2-7 on the year. They went up to Pitt, weird vibe, weird atmosphere, 10-7 at halftime. Pitt scored the first touchdown. And, Florida State struggled a little bit, but, they overall, Jordan Travis did throw for 360 and a touchdown, but, numbers can be inflated whenever. But, I think we all kind of have the same feel about the Florida State team, that out of the undefeateds and everything else, they're probably, we have a hard time seeing them make the playoff, is what I'm going to say. That's what I would think as well. Oklahoma, they got a one-way ticket going the other way, and they are not going to the playoff at all. They lost in Bedlam, one of the last series of Bedlam, actually, 27-24. They lose to Oklahoma State, who has really been playing some good football recently. Just Oklahoma didn't have any answers at all. Actually, looking at Oklahoma State's running back, Ollie Gordon II, who's ran for 1,200 yards already, 33 carries for 137 and 2 touchdowns. Oklahoma could not stop a nosebleed in the run game from Oklahoma State. So, sayonara Oklahoma in that regard. Looking down, Louisville, man, they keep on winning. That team keeps on winning. They're 13th in the country, 8-1. They beat Virginia Tech 34-3. Might go to the game this Thursday when they play Virginia. I don't know. Penn State just obliterated Maryland 51-15. They have a big game coming up against Michigan, which we'll also preview. What's been the difference for Penn State from the Ohio State game to this Maryland game? What was the difference? Actually, there's probably a lot of differences, but what was the difference in this, Brady?
I'd say honestly, just competition level. I think Penn State's offense, against not lower level teams, because I think Maryland's above average, even though they haven't played great the last few weeks. But I think when they could just out-talent teams, they're fine. Drew Aller, you seem to play better against lower level teams. I mean, against Indiana, he threw a game-winning touchdown pass. Sort of. They ended up winning by 10. But he threw a bomb down the sidelines. But, obviously the best team they played being Ohio State, Drew Aller he did not know what to do that whole game. You could just tell in his eyes, he was not ready to play a team like that. And I just think he's locked in a little bit more. I mean, he's had a great season when you look at his numbers. 20 touchdowns, 1 pick. He's still he's probably the best quarterback from the 2022 recruiting class right now. I think if he can just lock in against Michigan, and maybe that Ohio State game prepared him, and, hit some shots down the field, they can absolutely win. I mean, I think Penn State has a better run game than Michigan. I really do. I think Nick Singleton, Katron Allen is a better duo than Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. Michigan's run game has not been nearly what it was last year so far this year. If they can just suffocate, if they can stop the pass game, if Penn State's DBs can live up to the hype that they were supposed to be, they can win this game for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we'll do a deeper dive on that in the preview episode. So we'll see what goes on. Matt, so we were talking about this with Drew Aller, being this big arm quarterback. He could throw it all over the yard. We're like, oh, they're gonna have so many big plays this season. Again, they just check downs, quick stuff, all this, and we saw against Ohio State, it was just, he was terrible. It was awful. He's going up against a really good Michigan defense. It's a home game, so he's going to be in an environment that he's known pretty well. Just real quick, what is something you want to see from Drew Aller? We'll talk more about the game, but what is something you want to see from Drew Aller on Saturday? One thing.
I mean, honestly, I just want to see him throw the ball down the fucking field a little bit, but I just don't know if Penn State's very good at doing it. So, I mean, realistically, I think Penn State can win just by winning the trenches, running the football, taking care of the football. I don't think Penn State's going to be able to vertically challenge them. When I'm talking about down the field, I'm talking about deep, stretch the field wise. He's got the arm talent to do it. It's just I don't think the receivers are very good at getting separation. It's kind of a combination of both so far with his development as a young quarterback. So I think the game's going to be won in the trenches. Like Brady said, Penn State probably has a better running game. So we'll see, man. I think Penn State really has a real shot in this one for sure.
Yep, man. We got some fun games to preview. coming up in the preview episode tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. Oregon, they roll over Cal, the same team that took it to the last second with USC, 50-49, but Oregon wins this one 63-19. So that was big for them. Michigan beats Purdue 41-13. We already talked about how Penn State, what ways Penn State could potentially beat Michigan. We're not going to talk about Michigan right now. We'll talk more about their scandalous efforts in the next episode. A lot of referring to the next episode. That means that you guys should watch the next episode if you're watching this far. Probably not, but we'll look at these 2 night games that happen. So Washington, they ended up beating USC 52-42, and it ended up getting Alex Grinch fired, which is probably a very good thing that happened for USC to get him out of there. But honestly, who knows if there's any saving that defense. Washington starts their November to remember month by scoring 52 points. They have got Utah next. Then they have Oregon State the week after. And then they have their rivalry with Washington State. I mean, we'll figure out what Washington is this week against Utah. I mean, this is, if they're able to survive this gauntlet, man, it's going to be, it's going to be something. It's going to be, a November to remember. But then we go to the other game, LSU, Alabama. Alabama just stays alive in whatever way possible. They went 42-28. They stay alive. Jalen Milroe was 15 for 23, 219 yards. Didn't throw any touchdowns, didn't throw any picks. But 20 carries, 155 yards, and 4 touchdown runs. Let's think about this. Is Alabama right now, for one-loss teams, the hottest team in the country for one-loss teams?
No.
Okay.
I would also say no. I'd say Oregon. I think Oregon's the hottest right now. Mostly because I think their loss was solely on 4 absolutely horrible decisions by the coach. And I think if they didn't do that, they'd beat Washington. I just think they're the best team in the Pac-12. But I also think Alabama definitely second hottest one-loss team.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I mean, there's just a lot of Alabama doesn't have really any more competition that they have on their schedule. They go to Kentucky this week at noon. Then they got their annual beater game against Chattanooga, and then
they go to Kentucky.
They go to Kentucky.
Deuce Hogan is going to come in and save the day for the Wildcats.
Oh my gosh! Well, hopefully so. But yeah, There's a lot of good games. We'll get off here in just a second. Again, recap: Michigan, Penn State's noon on Fox. Then we look down the line: Utah and Washington play each other at 3:30 on Fox. Tennessee and Missouri. It's not a playoff matchup, but it's still a good 3:30 matchup, which would be on CBS. Ole Miss and Georgia is a 7:00 game on ESPN at Georgia. Obviously, our Ohio State Buckeyes, number 1 ranked at the moment, play on NBC against Michigan State, which Matt and Brady again will be at. And then USC and Oregon, USC's out of it right now. They play at 10:30 on Fox. So Fox has got 3 games, 3 pretty good games on their slate. So they can't be complaining at all. There's a lot of good college football going on. But anybody got any final thoughts before we hop on out of this thing?
The Michigan football program is a joke.
All right.
I like it. I'm good.
Cool. All right. There you go. We'll see you guys next time.
Doses.